Hello and welcome to Out of Court, and in this week's live investigation into crime and punishment, justice and the law, we talk to a man who faced 55 hours of police questioning into the murder of his wife. Dr. Robert Jones describes the nightmare of being the police's #1 suspect.
We examine the case of a man locked away in Rampton Special Security Hospital for crimes he didn't commit. Is the Queen's pardon worth the elegant paper it's written on?
And why thousands of upright citizens are breaking the law in the privacy of their own home.
Well, I like it. It's cheery and keeps us going during the day. We have it on nearly all the time at work.
But it's illegal.
I know. Makes it all more fun, doesn't it?
And we'll be finding out later exactly what it is that lady finds so naughty but nice. After 10 years of legal commercial radio, who knows, maybe because of it, the pirates are back. And in the process revealed a legal muddle for which even legitimate licensed radio stations blame the government.
And the government, in turn, is pushing its telecommunications bills through the Lords with stiff measures to clamp down on the broadcasting bandits. Ed Boyle's been tuning into the radio outlaws, and you may be surprised to see what fine, upstanding citizens some of them turn out to be.
Right now, Sunshine, we'll take a break.
Sunshine Radio! And now with local government news, we hand over to Councillor Adrian Coles.
An interesting and important meeting has taken place in Ludlow Town Hall, arranged by the Ludlow Peace Group. About 200 plus people attended.
There's a note of honest officialdom about the voice, but he does risk the scales of justice every time he takes to the air. A public citizen solid as the local cheese, openly flouting the law. Councillor Major Adrian Harcourt Coles.
How are you? You've got a nice variety of cheeses here, haven't you?
No furtive radio pirate this, displaying his felony as publicly as the produce in the covert market, where broadcaster and listener are both guilty, but show no guilt.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Very good. We do a little bit of advertising now and again.
Do you? Good.
It's an offence to advertise, to broadcast, even to listen. And yet they grin in Ludlow at the lawlessness of it, as though it weren't a crime at all.
Morning, Edith. How are you?
No one wastes time here vegetating on the roots of this willful assault on legitimate wireless. Everyone broadcasts their involvement.
Do you ever listen to Sunshine Radio?
Pardon?
Do you ever listen to Sunshine?
Always on Sundays when you're on.
Do you?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
Very good.
Good. At the time I started broadcasting, I didn't really realise it was illegal. Since then, of course, there's been a court case, but I don't concern myself too much with the affairs of the management of the station. I don't follow the blow-by-blow business of the station. I'm interested in communicating with people.
And so, for a 12-month, the voice of the galloping major has fearlessly boomed from this barn. An unprepossessing base, maybe, but with the look of rustic permanence, and no subterfuge about what they're doing inside. In a corner beneath the beams, a makeshift studio beams out the signal.
I Need You, that sounded Pointer Sisters. Beautiful song from them. 5 o'clock, you're in tune with Sunshine Radio, broadcasting to Shropshire, 299 metres, 1017 kilohertz on the medium wave band. Little what's on for you. Acton Scott's Working Farm Museum is making a summer holiday offer to the public. If you're interested...
Public service messages for a community thus far deprived of commercial or even BBC local radio. Sunshine does it for them, professionally.
Break.
Sunshine Radio!
If you're in the market for a plumbing job, then why plumb the depths?
No shortage of advertisers prepared to ignore the law here, but Sunshine isn't a feather-bedded money spinner either. The DJ can't sit down, isn't room for a chair, and the basic equipment is, well, basic. Yet the philosophy is responsible enough to inform and entertain an otherwise ignored community, even if the master switch is an old baccy tin. Cheap, but not nasty.
Radio News. Good afternoon, the time 5:30, Dateline Monday, 23rd of January 1984. This is Steve Powell with Sunshine Radio, news and weather together.
Close your eyes and these might be the polished tones of Radio 1, not a pirate in a drafty barn. But then Graham Simmons, who started it all, resents that Jolly Roger image.
It's not looked upon as piracy, though. It's respected. It's looked upon as a respectable station, a respectable service. I think the only way I can answer that question is to say go and talk to somebody. Go and talk to the public, see what they think about it.
It's a pirate radio station.
I'm not supposed to know that. What for? Why should I know that? If I switch my radio in the car on, I don't care who it's off. Do I? As long as it's a good program, I'll listen.
Well, I like it. It's cheery and keeps us going during the day. We have it on nearly all the time at work.
But it's illegal.
I know. Makes it all more fun, doesn't it?
It's illegal.
Well, what isn't?
But it's illegal.
Ludlow folk never get in a flap about flouting the radio laws, not when the sheep outnumber the people, and the broadcasting authorities can see more mutton than money in setting up a station, which is probably why there isn't one. All of which would have left the little castle town barren of broadcasts altogether, and the scattered hamlets beyond without a local mouthpiece until sunshine dawned. It's been 1 year before the mast now. No primitive pirate's mast either. A full 120 foot of girded antennae, radiating the station loud and clear for 30 miles, carefully avoiding frequencies that might interfere with legal transmissions. A solid fact of life on the landscape, whose illegalities are officially ignored in a solid, matter-of-fact way.
There are no objections, as far as I know, from the public to the radio station. I accept that they are technically breaking the law. But then, why can't the law either be changed or why can't they be made legal and allowed to broadcast? They're serving a useful purpose.
But haven't they got a whopping great transmitter stuck up somewhere out in the
wild?
wild?
Well, people keep telling me about this, but they also tell me many other things in South Shropshire, but I haven't seen it.
The sort of transmitter aerial that might have required planning permission?
Well, if it requires planning permission, I'm quite certain that somebody in the area will let us know about it and something will be done.
You're implying that lots of other people turn blind eyes to this particular
Well, I don't
radio
know.
station.
I can't really speak for other people, can I?
With a wry grin on your face?
Well, possibly, yes, but this is our way of life around here. We like to encourage the entrepreneur. We think we are individuals. We like people to do individual things.
And it's this craving for individuality that's given birth to air piracy elsewhere. In London, for example, DBC stands for the Dread Broadcasting Corporation, whose cheeky diet of reggae radio blasted into the ether largely for ethnic audiences. But now there's nothing like it on the air. It's even been gloriously immortalized in film cartoon. But like all pirates, the glamour of DBC is in the ear of the beholder, and the reality for Mike and Lepke, the founders, much humbler. DBC has to be streetwise to survive, walking the Portobello Road now only because the law has caught up with them, seized their equipment and silenced their signal.
We're told it's a free country, free speech all the time. You can't do free speech. It hurts, you know. They say it's free speech, you try and set up a station and talk to somebody, they'll come and shut you down, you know.
Free enterprise even.
Yeah.
The whole concept of free enterprise is that every man should be able to compete with the next man, but it's contrary to free enterprise, the practice of free enterprise, the fact that it is so much more controlled.
And yet the law doesn't effectively control the pirates, even as they collect on street corners like this to buy more illegal equipment to get back on the air. It's the acid test of their credibility that people do give, and DBC will be back. For the market they serve is currently unfulfilled and capable of paying for itself unless or until the government cuts them off completely. But in the eyes of the legal operators, well, it's the government who's chicken.
The government makes the law, and currently it's just not enforcing the law.
For according to the commercial radio bosses, it's mostly deaf ears and blind eyes.
Not a totally blind eye, no. There is an attempt at enforcement, a level of enforcement, but it's not very effective. And the usual excuse that's given to us is that the law is inadequate, that they haven't got a sufficient strength of law and the British Telecom people who track down the pirates and raid them, or that there aren't enough people to do the actual enforcing.
All just excuses. For the pirates, Brian West maintains, should either be wiped out or else in some way legitimised.
Radio 1548 kilohertz, 95.8 stereo VHF.
And you can hear it on Radio 3 at 9:45.
But the view from the Home Office is a classical example of the confusion in law enforcement. For Douglas Hurd is only responsible for licensing, not apprehending offenders.
I think if you went to the legal broadcasters, indeed, whom you represent, you would find that they do not think the law is an ass. I think the law against pirate radio is essential if we're to have a liberal but sensible broadcasting system in this country.
You do have the power, surely, in government to wipe them off the map. Why don't you?
We don't have the power to wipe them off the map any more than we have the power to wipe off the map somebody who hasn't got a legal car license or somebody who hasn't got a legal telly license. There are laws and we enforce the laws, and that is what is happening in all those cases.
From the lofty heights of central government, the Home Office boasts a score of prosecutions in a year, but has little positive to say about the motivation of the people they do take to court, and for that matter, the hundreds more who are never harassed at all.
I think what the authorities have got to learn is there is a necessity to have stations that give an alternative type of music. I want to push a button. I want to have a non-stop 24-hour soul station. I want to be able to push a button and have a country and western station, all-day chat station, anything. And the Home Office, they always say the same thing. They said it to us in the 60s. They said there is no room on the dial for it.
You will bear in mind that we would never have had the better light music programmes for the majority of people today without the pirates of Radio Caroline and Radio London. I don't think the changes would have come about without people bluntly pushing the law a bit far.
They are to be encouraged, therefore.
I think they should be encouraged to show enterprise, and if we make the law simpler, and if we make it a little bit cheaper, they can keep within the law. But if you make laws restrictive, they're always going to be broken.
And the law continues to be broken with alacrity for the cause of that lonely, silent community in Shropshire. The Ludlow sound of Radio Sunshine out in the wilds was prosecuted last December. But it's indicative of the determination of these rural radio rebels that they were back on the air within hours and unrepentant. Why didn't you go off and run a respectable commercial radio station somewhere?
Well, I was up until the 8th of December.
This one?
This one.
At DBC, the same proud defiance applies among broadcasters who aren't in the big money league of commercial radio and, more to the point, have no desire at all to be. But Lepke, do you really want to be legalised, regulated?
No, I don't want to be regulated, I want to be legalised.
The people you're talking about could have applied not long ago when the Capital Radio franchise in London was re-advertised, where they could have applied to it. There are going to be new independent radio stations.
But today's pirates would never find merchant bank backing to beam out their specialist message, and the audience wouldn't want it either.
The IBA and some of the authorities don't know what the general public want.
And the law is?
An ass. Absolute ass. And it's about time they altered it.
The law stands as not very effective. OK, the law's an ass.
To such criticism, the minister maintains a stoical resistance. The government isn't ready or willing to preach peace unto pirates, even well-meaning ones.
A lot of them interfere, and they can't be sure that they don't, and we get many complaints that they do. They pinch other people's frequencies, and they aren't under the obligations about violence, obscenity, and so on. Pirate radio is unfair.
But how much more unfair than depriving communities of stations they want because licensed commercial operators aren't prepared to do the job? Unfair to turn off the sunshine?